Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. This video might be the most important video you'll ever watch in your entire life. Mainly because if you click that subscribe button, you will become a millionaire in the next 10 years. And if you don't hit the subscribe button, you'll stay broke for the rest of your life and all of your silver will get milk spots. I mean, just saying. And if that happens, do not blame me, blame yourself because you didn't click the subscribe button. Now, stimulus is getting thrown out left, right, up, down, front, center, and there has to be a consequence, right? There's definitely a cost to pay. You get a nice check, but at what cost? And it sucks to say that because people need the money. We just don't have the money to give out. I have a second channel called The Root of All Evil, links in the description, where I focus primarily on our corrupt financial system. Don't really talk about precious metals on that channel. It's just solely focused around fiat currency and just how corrupt it all is. So this video kind of ties into that, but I do want to talk about how it affects precious metals prices. Now, if you don't know this, then you're going to get a lot of information in today's video. I'm probably going to make this a longer type of video because there is so much to talk about. I'll be posting another link in the description, usdebtclock.org. It shows a live counter of the U.S. national debt, which is around $28 trillion. We already this year have given around $4 trillion itself, which is extremely alarming because out of the grand total of all the decades, we racked up $28 trillion, and Joe Biden single-handedly the first couple months already handed out $4 trillion. If you want to look back 2008, which is very similar to what's happening now, recession/depression, the whole shebang, except for a global pandemic, billion-dollar stimulus was the answer then. Now we have trillion-dollar stimulus and a global pandemic. So if that led silver to $50 back then, we can definitely get an idea on where it's going to lead silver now. The dollar also wasn't as weak back then. Right? We had that money to give out back then. We don't now. When I say that the dollar's lost 98% of its purchasing power, that's a literal number, not 99%, not 97%. It's literally 98%. So people that walk around saying that America is so rich and all that, it's a blatant lie. And countries are starting to notice this. That's why you have countries opting out of the US dollar being their currency, and the world reserve currency is the US dollar, right? The US dollar is the world's reserve currency. Every country across the world relies on the US dollar's strength. And since the dollar's strength is slowly falling, that pushes precious metals up because gold and silver have a direct correlation to the US dollar index. If the dollar index is low, gold and silver is high, and vice versa. So moving forwards, precious metals is the alternative. There is no solution. It's a hedge against inflation. It's like putting your money in a time capsule. The reason for that is our system is broken and it's set up to fail. We're trying to get ourselves out of debt by replacing it with more debt. It's like trying to pay off a credit card with another credit card. It's going to catch up to you sooner or later. And this pandemic just sped up everything times 10, times 20. I would still be sitting here making videos about silver and how much potential it has regardless of the pandemic, right? I've been talking about silver for 6 years on this channel. The pandemic just sped up everything way faster. So when we were talking about these high silver prices that would be in like 5-10 years, now they're going to be in 2-3 years. Things are a lot different. Times are changing. They're changing, and you got to be able to adjust and adapt accordingly. You have to. You have to. And the greatest part about silver is whether candidate A, B, C, or D won, silver is always going to come out on top. I just made a video earlier today, and I was going over Wall Street Silver, which is the same people from Wall Street Bets that pushed GameStop up thousands of percent. People got, turned millionaires within a couple of hours. And on there, that's a great video, by the way. You should check it out. It's a different format. I really went through the subreddit and just a whole bunch of silver memes and showing people stacks. It was a really cool video. But the point is that in that video, you can see how more people are turning their heads towards silver. I mean, Wall Street bets, that was the biggest thing in the, especially in the United States at the time. With GameStop, everyone's talking about it, news channels, and now they headed to silver. I mean, you have such a big organization, such a big, massive following, and they're all looking at silver now. Not gold, but silver. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? And in that video, I did realize something, right? Because I was talking about the fundamentals, supply and demand, but the silver squeeze is rapidly pushing the demand, and we do have a small supply or diminishing supply. So we are almost forcing the natural cause of silver price rising. We're almost like, forcing it to happen from the power of people. And it's interesting because usually it's how much comes out of the ground, all that. But we are kind of manipulating the system. And I hate to say the word manipulation, because when we think of silver manipulation, we think of JP Morgan, the Dutch Bank, Merrill Lynch, spoofing, placing false buy orders on these exchanges, canceling before we go through. But we are living in a new day and age. You have apps like Robinhood, Webull, where all these younger generations can invest. And now investing is kind of the cool thing to do, since Bitcoin was the mascot of that. So you have people in their 18, 19, 20, mid-20s now investing, where as a couple decades ago, it was 30, 40, 50-year-olds. So new eyes, new perspectives, new applications with technology now, and all these apps where you can buy silver stocks right on your phone, or it's a lot different. Times are changing. And if you are noticing, fiat currency is getting replaced. Go to the grocery store, and this is before the pandemic too. It has nothing to do about germs or viruses or sanitary issues. If you go to the grocery store, let's pretend the pandemic doesn't exist. Nobody uses dollar bills anymore. It's all swipe of a card. Cardless ATMs, mobile banking, even Bitcoin ATMs. Everything is mobile, and it's not from the pandemic. We haven't been using dollar bills in a while. And if you do, it's for some specific reason, not having to do with, it's convenience. Bitcoin is slowly replacing the dollar too, whether you want to like it or not, acknowledge it or not, admit it or not, accept it or not. It really is. It really is. PayPal, you can now buy Bitcoin. Amazon's probably going to soon. You can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin's everywhere, and people aren't even realizing that it is replacing the dollar. Now you have all these banks getting in with coins like Tether. You have Ripple, which is controlled by a central bank. You literally have a crypto called USD coin. It's USDC. It literally is USD coin, and it's pegged to $1. So if you don't think crypto is slowly replacing our fiat system, then you're going to be sadly mistaken. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because central banks, it's centralized. They are the ones in control. Nobody else is. Bitcoin, crypto is decentralized. It's the exact opposite. Nobody's in control. If there wants to be a change made on the blockchain, everyone has to vote publicly, and then whatever has the majority rules, that gets changed. The blockchain stores everything on a public database, so nobody can do anything shady behind the scenes, unlike central bankers. And that's why when JP Morgan called Bitcoin a scam, and then all of a sudden bought millions of dollars of Bitcoin right after, they got caught, because the blockchain stores every transaction publicly for anyone to view. So there is benefits. Plus, it's a global coin with instant transactions, zero to little fees. There's no Bitcoin to USA, Bitcoin to China, right? Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and there's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be created. I mean, that's a very low number for a global coin. So, when you're doing the math, The dollar should be short-lived. Look at inflation. Look what it does as the dollar weakens. Look at third world countries. They carry their money in trash bags. They weigh their money on scales because their money is so deflated, it has no purchasing power. They literally, imagine, and that's why you see like the Zimbabwe $1 trillion bill. Imagine going to the store and having all these dollars, but they're worth like the purchasing power of like 5 cents. So to buy something that's $3 or $4, you have to fork over, 50, 60 of these bills. They just weigh it now. They don't even count it. And that's the direction that every fiat-based system is headed. It really is. It's just going to take the United States a little longer because we're quote unquote wealthier. The only reason we're wealthier is because we own the most gold. Not because we can print the most money. No. Here at quantitative easing, QE, we're just reprinting money to make up for the money we're spending, but that in return floods the market, it floods the economy, floods the United States with all these extra dollars, weakens it, and that pushes gold and silver up. So we literally can get a pretty good idea on where silver is going to be. Now, I don't think that's going to keep silver price high for too long, but there are other variables that will keep it afloat to push even higher. That itself wouldn't push silver to $50. It could give it a boost, but then once that, what's going to be the barrier to keep that from, stabilizing at that point? If we're talking about extremely high silver prices, $50, $60, $70 like Citibank, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, who else? Silver Institute. So many people have talked about. There's going to have to be other variables, other scenarios happening. And that's where you see the demand come in. That's where you see Joe Biden's green energy revolution kick in. That's where you see silver scarcity. That's where silver, it's true. That's where it's going to really be time to shine, right? It's not just going to be one thing. It's multiple things, A, B, C, and D, and they're all aligning. The stars are all aligning. The perfect storm is here. Floodgates have opened, and everything is pointing towards one explosive movement for silver. Gold, gold already exploded. It broke past $2,000. Silver hasn't done that yet. Silver is the volcano that hasn't erupted yet. Gold already has erupted. That's why back in March, the gold to silver ratio was 125 to 1. And now the ratio is what, like 70 something? I think it's like 69. Yeah, like 69, 70 to 1. Silver has drastically outperformed gold since last March, and rightfully so. That ratio is way too high. If it comes out of the ground 8 to 1, then why in the world is the ratio 69 to 1? It doesn't make sense. We man-made that. 1930, FDR changed the gold to silver ratio from 16 to 1 to 75 to 1. Previously, it was never higher than that. It was always 8 to 1. Actually, back in biblical times, it was 2.5 parts silver equals 1 part gold. So it was 2.5 to 1. Then it was 8 to 1 because that's what it comes out of the ground. Then it got 16 to 1 in the early 1900s. And then 1930 happened. FDR got in office, 75 to 1. It never really corrected back down except for, the times when like silver was $50 in 1980 and 2011. So if we're looking at all of these variables, it's pretty easy to say that silver is definitely a steal at $26. If anyone's going to tell you that silver is too pricey for $26, look at them in the face and ask them why. Have you ever held a $20 bill in your left hand, held a 1-ounce silver coin in your other hand? Tell me which one has more value. In 10 years, that $20 bill is going to have the purchasing power of like $5, maybe even less. Just like back in the day, you hear people say things were so much cheaper. Pack of cigarettes was 30 cents or whatever. Gallon of gas was, 25 cents. Yeah, that didn't rise out of nowhere. It's because we needed more dollars to equate because the dollar is weakening. Just like moving forwards, what you can buy for $50,000 in today's time is probably going to cost around $100,000+ then. It's all headed the same direction, but you want to see how silver's timeless? Back in the day, a walking Liberty could get you a gallon of gas. Today, that same exact coin can still get you a gallon of gas. And I know I used this example before, but for someone who's never heard it, it is the perfect analogy to represent how timeless and priceless silver is. So literally, the same coin could get me a gallon of gas back in the day as it can today. No other change, nothing. Back in the day, a gallon of gas cost 50 cents. So I could take my walking Liberty half dollar and trade it to the store clerk, the cashier, and get my gallon of gas because it's 50 cents. And there's 50 cents of actual silver inside of that coin. So I was giving them an actual transaction of real value. Nowadays, 50 cents can't get you a gallon of gas, but I could take that walking Liberty to my local coin shop, sell it for $10, and then get myself a gallon of gas. See how back in the day it was the face value, but nowadays it's the metal content? And that's why silver is so important, because no matter who says silver's worth what, no matter what spot price is, that's not the real value. The real value of silver is the metal content inside of it, the 1 ounce inside of it, not the spot price attached to it. And that's why I have made videos in the past talking about how silver silver is priceless. Spot price is relevant, because when you're looking at the grand scheme of things, the spot price really is only telling you what the value of that ounce is at that particular time. But what if we look at 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now? Silver is still going to be valuable, but not from monetary terms. If there won't even be a monetary system by then. It's always going off the metal content and not the fiat, the dollar amount, because that is irrelevant. That stuff is worthless. It's fake anyways. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you thought this video was educational, informational, at least entertaining, make sure to smash the like button. Check out the video I posted earlier today. Very interesting type of video, different format. Let me know what you think about that. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.